How long have you been in quarantine, Spencer?
Yeah.
This quarantine has clearly affected us all very differently. You know, some people need to let their feelings out in very unique ways. It really depends on the person, what experiences they've been through, you know, what they've actually been doing during this quarantine. I've even been forced to cut my own hair, which I've been told to never do again. And we shouldn't judge them. It should really be up to the individual to do what feels natural. Don't you agree, Spencer?
Yeah.
I think this film is very entertaining. I've seen it twice. I mean, obviously the main emotion you get from it is laughter.
Yes.
Taking this as some sort of, as what the film might have intended to be, it does not work at all.
It completely goes the opposite direction of what the director aimed for. I feel like they need to make more films like these.
Yes, please,
because they're so
please.
much more entertaining. Like, just like we were talking about Sonic, I wish that they would have just left the bad version of Sonic, because at least I would have felt gross.
Yeah.
and
right. That could have had a similar element to it as Cats does, where like you can tell they're trying to make you feel a certain thing, but you're so weirded out by the aesthetics of what you're seeing that it's a bizarre experience. And Sonic could have been like that, maybe, if they'd kept the original Sonic.
Yeah.
This has enough extra bizarre things than just the visuals to make it fun.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that mostly goes into the animation aspect of it.
Yeah.
Because you just see these cats, and I just remember the first 5 minutes of this film, I was thinking, I feel so uncomfortable. What dark hole of the internet tab did I click on that I should not be in? Because you see these cat morph suits essentially, and it's all skin tight, and you just, you know, the different parts of me that are going, I don't associate these two things together, but it was so weird and bizarre at the same time that I couldn't help but laugh. It's almost like they bought into that idea that, yes, we know this is strange and odd and peculiar, so we're gonna amp that up by having our dancers dance in the background, and they don't know what they're doing sometimes, and they're just doing odd things, and then, like, especially in the opening, you get those oblique camera angles, and then that's aided by the weird, trippy, transy music that they got playing on.
I don't know whether to conclude that this was intentionally weird or accidentally weird or something in between.
I think it's somewhere in between, because there's just no way that they just didn't think that, yes, this is going to be a serious piece or not, because the cinematography, the acting, the CGI, the camera angles, everything about it just aided into the fact that this is just so bizarre, but it didn't feel unintentional. It felt intentional.
But it was inconsistent though.
Yeah, yes.
I think it's like the second song where Rebel Wilson comes in, and there's like the roaches and there's all these weird things going on, and you have these like totally bizarre camera angles. Like there's like an upside down shot of these like dancing cockroaches, and then it suddenly like rotates upside down. It's like, whoa!
Yeah.
And then like Rebel Wilson shows up and eats a cockroach. Like there's so many weird things happening there, and like I feel like the shot composition is like unhinged. It's just a little bit to aid that feeling. But in so much else of the movie, a lot of the shots are very still and lifeless.
Yeah, it almost feels like that there was a completely different director in the first part. I would say the first maybe third of the film, I was really digging my teeth into it because it was so bizarre and weird and awkward, and I was laughing so much. But then after that point, it was few and far between.
So what you're saying is you wanted to be introduced to more cats.
No. I wanted the directorial style to continue, because it felt like that it was just, they just kind of pushed it to the side, because after the first third of the film, there's still funny parts in it, like with Ian McKellen. Oh God, I'll get into that. I love Ian McKellen, but it looked like that they took him out of a nursing home, and he went on there and he didn't know where he was. And his expressions were so funny, because he just looked, and
this was intentional though, I think.
But it was so funny because it felt like that Ian McKellen just didn't know where he was. It felt like an old man that was put in a cat costume and got on set and went, this is so funny. And then you see him at another point where he's just, Sir Ian McKellen, drinking out of a bowl. Like, how, why? And he was doing his Gandalf voice for some reason too.
I've never played the Egyptian before.
Yes, I am the cat. I am the Jellicle cat. And then he had his tail go up in the back. Like,
There were a few great moments with Ian McKellen and Judi Dench where you could just see this look in their eyes that's like...
that they just know that, man, what did I choose?
Yeah.
Why am I here?
Yeah.
I believe it is old Deuteronomy.
When the movie was first released, they had an incomplete version in theaters, which is what we watched, which has several effects that weren't finished. Judi Dench, for example, has her cuffs of her sleeves are just obvious. You see these human hands with her wedding ring, and there's several other effects like the mice children, I think,
no, that was-
which were horrifying.
The scales sometimes had issues because, like, you would get to a car and the car was big, but it wasn't as big as what a real cat would be in comparison to what a real car is. It was just big enough so that the human actors could crawl into it.
When I first saw the trailers for the movie, I was actually intrigued by the visual design. I thought it was kind of cool. Oh, these are like cat people in a human-sized world. That could be fun. I could see that being visually interesting, but it's actually not. For most of the movie, it's kind of just nondescript in terms of size, like the big theater area. It's just a big open area.
One of the main issues that I have with it is that you have cats and yet you don't do anything with this source material about them actually being cats. Like you have some, like, I think there's like 2 throwaway lines. Oh, look what the cat dragged in. Okay. And yeah, and then there was another one that they had, but
Cat got your tongue.
yeah, that was the other
Like
one.
the most tired cat cliches you can think
Right.
of. That's what you got?
Yeah.
Come on.
No, and they should have just went in, like, they could have been so much more creative, like, oh, what do cats do? You know, like, cat videos are what took over YouTube. That's what birthed the beginning of YouTube. You could have done something with that. You could have recreated a cat video on cats, and that would have made it a lot more funny.
You're totally right. Actually, that makes a great point that there is so little about cats in this story. Like, nothing is cat-like about these characters or about this world or about the story or anything. It's just it's an aesthetic weirdness. But they tried, though. Everyone was trying pretty hard. Like, I didn't get the feeling that any of the actors really phoned it in.
No. Everyone was giving it their all, it felt like.
Yeah, they said, I've read that during the filming, the director basically had them all practice being cats. So like, okay, I'll use like super high-paid actors. Today, we're gonna sit in this room with these like saucers of milk. You like get down in your underwear and we're just gonna crawl around the room and act like cats, all right? Like you can sniff each other, you can like scratch and play, here's some balls of yarn, like, you know, do what comes naturally to you as a cat. I think that's great. Really getting to the role that way. I mean, I can't fault him for that. The weirdness of this movie is what makes it special. Not the musical, not the
special effects.
No, not the act, not the writing or anything else.
Not the songs. Yeah, it's just the bizarreness of it. That's what really makes it stand out. If it was just people in cat costumes, I think that it would just be boring.
Yeah, if the cats looked less weird, it would be far more boring.
If you picked up the cats from the musical and then you put them in the movie, it wouldn't work. I mean, you would get a boring film. You would get Sonic.
Yeah, it would still be probably more weird than Sonic.
Maybe.
Despite that apparent investment in like portraying the spirit of the feline animal, it wasn't there. It just seemed like a bunch of dancers, like, you know, theatrical dancers and musical theater actors who were dancing around on stage. It never felt like they were actually really cats.
That happened to look like cats.
I mean,
to look, not act.
I was able to identify 3 problems with the film. Only 3.
Okay, only 3. Okay, let's hear it.
And one of them is the repetition of all the introductions.
Yeah.
There's one song in particular that, upon rewatching it this time, I'm certain it doesn't need to be there at all. After you meet the fat cat who likes to eat, she goes off with a couple other cats and they're like dancing around a bed or whatever. It's 5.5 minutes long and serves no purpose. This is what makes me think this was not intentionally weird, because he got to this, by this point in the film, it's like he's used most of the tricks in his bag. He doesn't keep, the surprises get fewer and fewer, I'd say.
Yeah. And even the surprises there are just mundane and just kind of like.
Right, and you have these moments that are shot and portrayed as though they're emotional, and those to me are very dull.
That was my biggest problem with the film, was that it never gave us a chance to just breathe and just kind of be kind of normal sometimes. So even if people don't understand the song, so like sometimes I'm listening to them like, what are you singing about? What's going on? It would have been nice to actually have some just grounded experience as much as you can with Cats. And because every single time that they stopped the music, it just felt like that they didn't know what to do, because there's no point to the musical of Cats.
Right, now that is the issue of the plot. I don't consider that a problem with this movie, because it's incidental. Obviously, it is so paper thin, virtually nothing happens. I think in the play, almost nothing happens as well. And they tried to have some kind of weird, flimsy plot with like McCavity coming in to try to take over the Jellicle Ball so that he's the one who gets to go to the afterlife or something. It doesn't matter. That didn't bother me in the movie. What bothered me was the low, like, people love this memory song. It's like it was the hit from the show.
Oh, is that the one like? No.
So like people like that song a lot. Apparently that was the one that everyone knew. Narratively, there's nothing there. Like, we're supposed to care about this cat. I don't care. It asks us to care. That's the problem.
That's why I wish that they gave us some spans of time to just be with these cats.
Oh, so we actually did care.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Because during these moments of, so usually with music in a musical, they are doing actions to try to heighten up your emotion about why we should care about these people, but the cats aren't doing anything to re-emphasize the actions of the songs that they are singing. They're just dancing around. They're not doing anything. Even when Idris Elba's number comes up, he's like, I'm evil, blah, ha, ha, you know, like, have him play a pipe organ, like, I don't know, like, curb stomp a puppy or something like that. You know, show that he's evil in some way, but he's just like, I dance evilly. And then even during those breaks in between the songs of when nothing is happening, that should be even a better time to show us, because it's kind of like a normal just way of just showing us like, okay, this cat has this going on. And that almost happens halfway through the film. I think the only kind of characterization that we get is from the main cat, Victoria, or was that right?
Victoria.
Yeah, she actually has a song, and I actually started feeling a little bit of something.
Oh, I felt a lot of things for Victoria. Well, I totally agree though. That is how you would do it if you were actually trying to tell a story that people would care about. So absolutely, you would actually break up the songs with like plot.
But no one cared.
No, but so I'm approaching from the perspective that I don't want a story, because I like how weird this is. Don't get me wrong, like, I'm a huge narrative guy. I'm all about storytelling in movies. But in a case like this, it's so about the spectacle of being weird and not just wrong in so many ways that it becomes right. And if you had an actual story in there, I feel like it would become less bizarre, probably, unless it was a really weird story, in which case I'd be interesting, but it would have to be very different from what's there. And I just think the most boring parts of the movie are the ones that try to make us care, which is why I want fewer of them. In my ideal Cats incarnation, in my mind, there would be fewer memories, songs, or whatever, where we're actually supposed to care about the characters, more weird stuff. And that would have made this movie like an A+ for me, rather than just like an A-.
Well, and that's why when it started dipping towards the middle, it started going back up a little bit. This entire film, I felt like that I was just watching a movie about cats, and then all of a sudden I learned that there's magic. There's a magical cat, and it's Idris Elba.
There's multiple magical cats.
Yeah, well, he has a book, and then he's like, oh, can I get an autograph from you? And then he just...
When you're watching a movie, your brain is making connections. It's trying to figure out, it's like, okay, this is what's happening in the plot, this is the character. I'm receiving all of this data into the brain, whether it's music, you know, all the visuals, the dialogue, you're putting together the scenes, the story, the settings. Your brain's doing a lot of complicated things during a movie. And in Cats, like, it's trying to make those connections, and it's like it can't make them. And it's like, what is happening? It's like a car crash.
Yeah, because you have these expectations. You have this expectation of, okay, I'm gonna watch a musical about cats, and then all of a sudden, just these bizarre things come in, like
genital injury jokes, and about maybe 8 or 9 like, this person is fat jokes, which that is the entire punchline.
I like to laugh at people that are fat. That's why I go see Cats. That's the kind of highbrow humor I like.
Yeah, and you know why they're fat? Because they like to eat.
They like to eat.
They like to eat, therefore they're fat.
That's funny.
People who aren't fat don't like to eat.
It's really funny.
Yeah.
I want to see more of that.
You know that I'm sensitive about my size.
I would have enjoyed a little more if they did push the bizarre elements more. But like, I understand, like, that's why it seems like they weren't trying to do that. I think they were trying, like, oh, this will be funny maybe, but they were trying to have a serious.
Felt like it was right on the line. Like they were almost teetering over. It was like a needle right on the middle. Like, no, no, no. Oh, no, 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 no. No! Butthole cats, what do you mean?
It will not bore you. This movie will not bore you. So I do recommend it.
You recommend it for all of the wrong reasons of why you would recommend it.
Yes, all the wrong reasons. So usually I'm recommending a movie because it has a good story and characters and it's well done and all that. This isn't really that. It's kind of the opposite. My two categories of favorite movies are like really dense, layered pieces like Roma. I loved Roma because it's so like deep, but a lot of people think it's boring. Fine, this is not boring.
No.
But to me, in both cases, there's so much that your brain can be doing in both kinds of movies. Roma and Cats. Yes, those are my two ideal sorts of movies, Roma and Cats.
Yeah, I'd recommend it too for all the wrong reasons. Go see Cats.
Go see Cats.